Welcome to the SNN Network Canada virtual event. I'd like to introduce our next presenter, Derek Webb, CEO of BIOREM. Sir, the floor is yours.
Great, thank you. And I'm pleased to be here this afternoon at this virtual event. So I'll get right in. We've got a lot to cover. I'm excited to present a high-level overview of BIOREM, our company, and the great things that we're poised to do. All of these presentations require a legal disclaimer in case there's any forward-looking statements. And then I think I'll begin the presentation here by trying to illustrate the vision and mission that BIOREM follows. And we really see a world economy powered by sustainable technology. We are firm believers that to keep on growing the economy, there is an ability to grow the economy at the same time as improving the quality of lives of our citizens, of our countries, of our nations. And we see this economy can be powered by sustainable technology. So our mission is really to help with this vision and help return the world to a pristine global environment. And we're going to do this by treating one source of an emission at a time, because we have a lot of large challenges ahead of us, and we can only address these by slicing them up into small little pieces. So quick overview on BIOREM. We've been around since 1990, so almost just over 30 years now, with approximately 50 employees. We're a pretty small company, but we've got a pretty vast global reach with projects in over 23 countries. Our headquarters is in Guelph, Ontario, just outside of Toronto. We have an integration facility in upstate New York. We have sales offices down in Georgia. And then we have quite a footprint in Asia as well, in China, with sales and engineering in Beijing and manufacturing in Wuhu and Tianjin. We have been trading since 2005 on the Venture Exchange, Toronto Stock Exchange Venture, and our ticker symbol is BRM. So I do encourage anyone to go there and find out more information. Also encourage people to go to our website to find out a little bit more about us. When I'm asked what BIOREM does, the simplest statement that I use is that we're an environmental biotechnology company. So the value we bring to our customers is by harnessing the power of Mother Nature to get rid of gaseous phase emissions, so air pollution, fancy word for air pollution. And we work in a vast number of segments. So this slide here speaks to a little bit of that. Critical infrastructure like solid waste management or municipal wastewater. These are critical pieces of our infrastructure, but as you have urban encroachment on these pieces of infrastructure, you run into the emissions that may be released from those activities. When you're looking at municipal wastewater, it's collecting right from someone's house. When you flush the toilet, that sewage needs to make it to a treatment plant. And all along that collection system, there are many opportunities for releases of emissions. Some of those emissions might just be nuisance odors that impact your quality of life, but some of those may actually be toxic contaminants that can be immediately dangerous to life and health. Where we also do a lot of work in is solid waste management. Now, this is becoming increasingly important as there's a push for renewable energy, as our landfills are getting filled up, and you need to divert the organic fraction from those landfills to other types of processing. There's a growing demand for dealing with the emissions from those operations. So whether that's composting, where you're turning organic material into a soil-type material, whether you're anaerobically digesting that material to produce gas and fertilizers, or whether you're really just dealing with locations that sort and transfer the waste from one area to the next or recycle certain streams of that waste. So we're seeing a burgeoning marketplace in those areas as I said, as those two factors converge, right? The lack of landfill space and trying to deal with greenhouse gas emissions as well. We also do a lot of work on the industrial side, and some of our customers are certainly in the top 50 of the Fortune 500 list, from whether it be food and beverage, dealing with agriculture, whether it's actually right from the slaughterhouse to the rendering to pet food and animal feed manufacturing, We get involved with chemical production, surface coatings, petrochemical. There's a wide range of industries out there that release emissions that are conducive to bacteria or fungus actually using those emissions as a food source. And then obviously we have been trying to push our way into the renewable energy side. We talked about anaerobic digestion of organic matter that produces a methane mixture, but that methane mixture is contaminated with carbon dioxide, with hydrogen sulfide, a number of other contaminants that need to be removed to get the true value of that gas. So that's certainly an area that we've been actively pursuing over the years as well. I often get asked, well, how do you do this? Right? How do you use bacteria to actually get this job done for us? And I always say, well, we always have to go back to first fundamentals, right? If you want to pair the optimized solution to a problem, you need to understand that problem. So we try to understand the upstream physical processes and all of these emission sources. We try to characterize that airstream and quantify it. Now that's the technical side of things. Then you have to start looking at kind of the commercial side of things. You know, where's this location? What are the regulations and how are they going to impact the requirements for this system? Logistics becomes a key consideration as well as you look at your supply chain and you look at the types of components you might supply. We bring this all together and look at the whole life cycle cost. You know, what are the byproducts? What's the CapEx criteria or the OpEx criteria? So we take all of these factors, bring them together, and try to pair the optimum solution with that. This is really an important way of looking at it because if you look at this industry, most of the BIOREM's competition, whether it be from a biological standpoint or other competing types of technologies, most of the competition are, you know, one-trick ponies, right? They've got one solution that they try to make fit for all of the problems. And I think that's one of the big differentiating factors from BIOREM is we really try to understand the needs of the client to pair the right solution. There are many different types of biological processes that could be used, and we need to ensure that we pick the right one for the technical constraints as well as commercial constraints. So in delivering our projects, we've recognized that our clients aren't necessarily looking for a piece of equipment. What they're looking for is a solution to whatever environmental issue they had, whether it be creating a nuisance condition in the neighborhood, or whether it be violating a federal regulation about certain toxic contaminants being released into the atmosphere. They're not looking for a piece of equipment. What they're looking for is to become a better neighbor in their community, or they're looking to get back in compliance with a federal regulator or a provincial regulator. So what we find is over the years, we've had to adapt our approach to ensure that we can provide the full set of solutions. And as we move forward, we talk a little bit about BIOREM's growth objectives and growth plans. This is where it becomes important to be able to provide a full range of solutions, whether it become the upfront engineering, doing the site assessments, troubleshooting and trying to understand the true nature of their issue, whether it be performance verification of their existing equipment or other abatement equipment that was installed, doing a full range of different types of modeling that might be required for permitting or might just be required to optimize a certain solution or existing equipment. Obviously, the core of our business, we're a capital equipment vendor. So what we do is we build systems that deal with a particular air emission problem. And whether that be a biological, physical, or chemical solution, whether it be a modular unit that's pre-packaged, plug and play, ship to site, and turn on the switch, or most often where we get into large-scale, custom, field-erected type reactors. We look at combining advanced technology, understanding engineering principles, combining them together in an optimized fashion, and we guarantee the performance. And that's something that you don't see a lot of in this industry. So we back up our words with financial guarantees to ensure that very stringent regulations can be met. And then once the project's been delivered, the system's in operation, there's a lot of the back end of services that are required, whether it be the startup and commissioning, ongoing operations and maintenance, troubleshooting, and just dealing with parts replacement. And then, as I said, backing this all up with guarantees. And when you look at this full package, it seems pretty straightforward, but you'd be amazed at how few of the competition actually provide an integrated package, an integrated group of services to meet all of the needs of their clients. Kind of give you a bit of an idea of our global footprint, because I think this slide gives you an idea of where we're strong and where the opportunity still lies. So you'll notice North America, the largest grouping and the most diverse set of our products, upwards of 1,700 installations. We've got a small footprint in South America, Africa, Europe, the Middle East, Oceania, and obviously in Asia as well. What we're starting to see in a lot of these other areas is the incorporation of more stringent quality of life regulations and more stringent VOC, or volatile organic compound regulations, to deal with climate change, to deal with urban smog, and just air quality in general. If I look at some of the activity that's been occurring in China in particular in the last 5 years, they've enacted some of the most stringent air pollution control regulations. I think it's just going to take a while for the enforcement of those regulations and the regular enforcement and the fair enforcement of those regulations across the wide range of industries to occur. But certainly China, being one of the most populous countries on the planet, the manufacturing powerhouse on the globe, it's very important for this legislation to come into play, and it's very important for these regulations to come into play. You'll also see that there's a lot of opportunity for growth in Europe, high urban density, and fairly stringent regulations, just a very tough competitive landscape. But what this map really shows is that we've been able to build a strong foundation in North America, and we've been able to use a global supply chain, global distribution network to get our foot in the door in a lot of different areas across the planet. So this presents one of the great opportunities for the company. I won't spend a lot of time on financial highlights. As I said, you can go to our website, get all the information you need, financial statements, and you can dig down deeper. But we're essentially a $20 to $25 million company in terms of annual revenue. This generates between $1 and $3 million in EBITDA, depending upon the product mix for that fiscal period. Currently in fairly strong position with a $30 million order backlog. Typically, our delivery cycles is 1 to 2 years. So having that $30 million backlog it gives us high visibility on what the next fiscal period will look like. Kind of put this in perspective, to maintain these types of results, we're really looking at booking about 75 to 100 new projects per year. And then give an idea of the size of the projects that we deal with. We're really looking at small packaged units from about roughly $50,000 to a large scale custom field erected system would be $5-6 million in size. And obviously, you can see there's on the graph on the right, just gives you a bit of an idea of how it's been over the last several years in terms of revenue, profits, and earnings. And then the other key thing that a lot of you may already be aware of is that we've recently concluded a transaction where we were able to repurchase 60% of our outstanding shares. This was just completed on December 1st. And this was by buying out a large shareholder of BIOREM and retiring those shares to create some additional value for the minority shareholders and to free up the corporation for further growth initiatives. So speaking of growth initiatives, what is the long-term plan for BIOREM? We're currently, as I indicated at the beginning of the presentation, a capital equipment sales a type of company. We do get some revenue from some of these other engineering services, but the vast bulk of our revenue comes from selling a piece of equipment that solves a customer's problems. And where our value lies today is with advanced biological systems, but the biological technology can only address a portion of air pollution out there. And to address the full range of air pollution problems, we need to employ other technologies. Some of these technologies will be based on physical processes, some will be based on thermal processes, and others will be based on chemical processes. So as we move into 2022, we're looking at rolling out a full comprehensive line, or expanding the rollout of a comprehensive line of physical solutions. As we move into 22, also looking at expanding the engineering and consulting services. And then as we move forward over the years, bringing on new technologies to address a wider range of contaminants, looking at recurring revenue streams, and expanding all of the services and solutions that we can purchase. So this is kind of just a pathway for where management has a vision for the corporation. For the growth initiatives, looking at a 5-year plan, we are operating in a mature and fragmented marketplace. Some of the technologies are have already been commoditized, and there are entrenched competition. So, and given that sales cycles can range from 1 to 10 years, and delivery cycles can be 1 to 5 years, trying to get that hockey stick trajectory in terms of growth simply through organic growth simply isn't possible. However, it's important to continue working on that base, expanding that base, not only to prevent attrition from competition and newcomers, but to just slowly grow that footprint as we move across the globe. Where we see most of the growth occurring in a far shorter time period would be looking at an inorganic strategy. And we're really looking at doubling the profits through M&A within the next 3 to 5 years. Part of those objectives is cost parity. So for the products that we currently have over this next period, we intend on maintaining the cost, today's cost, the 2020 cost, actually prior to the inflation we've been seeing this year. So not only are we looking at expanding our markets, looking at M&A activity, we've got fairly extensive programs in-house to ensure that our cost base doesn't increase at the rate that general inflation does. And that's done through innovation, through engineering, and a diverse supply chain. And then looking obviously at debt retirement. We had to fund part of the share repurchase with debt, the rest with the capital reserve that we had. So during this period, we also look at retiring that debt. What kind of growth initiatives do we have? Well, let's talk about the M&A activity first. There's 3 tiers of priority. Technology. As we've indicated several times throughout this presentation, and with a lot of the one-on-one discussion over the last several days, not every solution or every problem can be solved by dealing with a biological process. And while we have many different types of biological processes, they may only address a fraction of the problems that the world faces in terms of gaseous phase emissions. So we need other technologies. Some of those we can develop in-house, which we are, but some of those be far more expedient to acquire that technology. Geographic expansion, also very key consideration. When you're looking at that previous slide where I showed where our footprints across the globe were, you can see that there's a big opportunity to have an expanded footprint on other continents. And then finally in synergy. And when I look at synergy, synergy is an all-encompassing term, but what we're looking at here is vertical integration of some of our major components. There's several components that account that account for 25 to 30% of our cost base when we deliver a project. So integrating that supply chain can result in significant cost savings, which would also help with the cost parity objectives. On the organic front, we're looking once again at 3 tiers of priority. New product introduction. You know, the big one for us that we started about 12 months ago is developing a full line of standardized and modular adsorption system, so a whole dry scrubber product line. And I'll spend a few more minutes speaking about that. And so that's being formally rolled out as we speak, but certainly over the last 12 months, our sales teams have been actively promoting it in key test markets, and we've had quite successful results from many of those markets so far. In fact, we just did a tally with the latest order that came in last week, and we're already up to 300 of these installations globally. So it's a great way to roll out a product with a proven track record and data to support the performance claims that we make. Certainly one of the big challenges is dealing with the lumpiness of capital equipment business. So we're looking at recurring revenue streams within our service department, within engineering groups. And then we've also got our 3rd tier priority at customer retention, dealing with those Fortune 500 companies where you know, we can piggyback on their success as they expand by introducing our products at each of the facilities that they build across the globe. So I'd like to leave a little bit of time for questions at the end, just in case. But I keep on talking about, you know, this organic growth, this new opportunity for physical technologies. In the past, typically was named carbon, you know, activated carbon type markets, but the technology has expanded significantly to include a large number of optimized adsorbents. If we look at the North American municipal odor market, the dry scrubber opportunity is roughly a third, which is about $300 million annually. In 2021, we've been tracking 150 projects with a total installed project value of $1 billion US. So it's a large market with a lot of opportunities, but it has been commoditized. There's a lot of competitive pressure, and certainly innovation is going to be key to be able to get a good footprint in that market. What's really good about this particular market is there's a recurring revenue stream associated with the replacement of the media and with testing and analytical services. Everything that we are already geared to provide, given the fact that we already have laboratories in both Canada and the US to handle that type of work. And the best thing is we can utilize the existing distribution network. So what does this product look like? It's a multi-use system. They come in a variety of sizes with a variety of different adsorbents that can be used on municipal applications or industrial applications at construction sites. They can be provided in a wide range of features based on materials, how they're designed, whether it's forced draft or induced flow. So a lot of features that I won't bore the audience with today, but I do encourage you to once again go to our website and get a little bit more information about it. In terms of understanding our offerings, we've got the first phase of the release looks at a variety of vertical and single and dual bed systems, which really just refers to how the air moves in the system. Same thing with the radial bed system. Once again, it's just how the air moves. It provides a lot of benefits depending on the requirements at the site. And then finally, with the kind of like the Cadillac or the Rolls-Royce of these systems, which kind of demonstrate the culmination of all of this technology, is really with a deep red scrubber, fully packaged, noise or sound attenuation, multiple stages of treatment for complex air streams with a low profile, nice looking aesthetics, That's really where we see the market moving to, and we've been very successful in designing innovative new ways to build these things. So I think without further ado, I will wrap up the formal part of the presentation. But at this point, I will open up the floor for questions since we have a couple minutes left in the presentation. And I see that we do have a question looking at what the vision for the company will be for the next 12 months. And I think, earlier on in the presentation, I kind of gave a high-level overview of where we'd like to be in about 5 years. So what I'd like to do, obviously, is you don't get from 0 to 100 immediately. So what we're doing is we're slicing up that vision, that 3 to 5 year vision, into milestones that need to be achieved at every quarter and every year. So the vision for the company in the next 12 months is really to pursue all of those elements for growth. The formal introduction of the dry scrubber line through a number of our international distributors, through all of our Canadian distributors, and through a portion of our American distributors. And that process is ongoing, and we will hope in the next 12 months to roll that out to approximately 30 to 40% of our distributors. We also would like at the end of 2022 be able to announce some progress in terms of the inorganic strategy. And so that's ongoing with a lot of different initiatives underway. Some look more promising than others, but our goal really would be to whittle that down to one key company and have that transaction completed before the end of the year. It's a tall order. There's always challenges that come up, but that's certainly what our vision is. On that note, I think we're just about running out of time. Certainly, if there are any other questions, we encourage people to reach out to us, either reach out to myself, Derek Webb, at BIOREM, or you can also reach out to Doug Newman, our CFO. We're both very open to entertaining questions, and once again, I'd like to thank the organizers for putting on a great event and allowing me the time to give a high-level introduction to BIOREM. So I thank everyone for their attention, and have a great afternoon.